Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann program. I'm Alex Lawson, filling in for Thom. And right now I'm joined by Nancy Altman, the founding co-director of Social Security Works, where I am the executive director. Nancy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is kind of like what Nancy and I do often, basically every day, talk about Social Security. The difference here is that yesterday, the cost of living adjustment was announced, and it was teeny tiny, 0.3%. Just the listeners on Thom's show really know about this issue because Thom talks about Social Security a lot, but this is a complicated facet. So just walk us through kind of what the COLA is, maybe why it's so low right now after a year of zero, and what we can do about it, or we'll get to what we can do about it. Let's just talk about the COLA first.
Absolutely. This is one of the most valuable parts of Social Security's benefits, and that is that if you get a traditional pension, even if you get a very good traditional pension, if you live 10, 20, 30 years, the benefit will erode over time because it's not indexed to inflation. Social Security is the only program around, only retirement program, that indexes benefits to inflation. So if you have 20% inflation, the benefits go up by 20%. Now, there's an issue about how to measure the inflation, and it's not really the best measure that's used, but the concept is there that.
So Nancy, let's just put a fine point on that, because there's a misconception that is funded by greedy liars on Wall Street, right? It is disinformation that the COLA is somehow like giving benefits. It's an increase in benefits, right? But that's not true. What the COLA does is maintains the purchasing power of the benefit that people earn.
Exactly. If without it, benefits erode over time. Right. So the benefit is able to purchase less and less and less. So it's very important. It's key to be able to have benefits that keep pace with inflation. And Congress has an automatic increase. It's been there. It was put in the law in 1972. So every year they have a measure of inflation, and whatever that comes out to be, that's how much inflation increases. Now, seniors know that their costs and their living, and people with disabilities know that their prescription drug costs are going up, their health care costs are going up, their rent's going up, all kinds of things are going up, food costs. And yet in 2016, they said, oh gosh, no increase in inflation, you get zero increase. They just announced what it will be for 2017, and they're not saying zero, but unfortunately they're saying, if you can believe this, 0.3%. 0.3%. So that is, anyone who lives knows that their costs are going up faster than that.
So with the COLA, there are some other complications, right? Because, and we don't have to go very deep into the weeds here, but this is after a year of no COLA, and then next year is going to be incredibly low COLA. People's drug prices are going up. Their medical costs are going up. It's just a fact that this is going to erode people's purchasing power. It's going to, the people who are on fixed incomes, their standard of living is going to go down because of this lack of purchasing power or erosion of purchasing power. Why is it right now underestimating the costs? Why is the COLA for the past, there's been 3 zero COLAs, and they've all occurred in the past 8 years. Why is it right now that it seems like the COLA is pretty much broken at this point?
Well, let me actually put a comment on what the last thing you said, and then answer your question. It's very important to understand that people who are receiving Social Security are on and are retired or cannot work and are disabled. They are on fixed incomes. They are not wealthy people. Most people are just on top of the poverty line, just a little beyond the poverty line, and could easily be pushed into poverty. So these are people who are spending their money on putting a roof over their heads, on the basic necessities of life. These are not people spending living in any kind of extravagant way, and they're not even eating, they're not eating fancy food, but they are putting food on their tables. So if the benefits don't keep pace, it becomes harder and harder to put food on the table, buy the prescription drugs they need, and get by in life. So it's a very significant concern when the index is not accurately reflecting inflation, which really gets to your question. At the time Social Security inflation index was put in, there was only one index that the Bureau of Labor Statistics was then putting out, and that was the Consumer Price Index for urban workers. And that is still the index that is used. So retirees aren't even part of the survey of purchases because it's workers, and it's only urban workers. It's not rural workers. This was the best that they had at the time. We now have more refined measures, but this measure, as you can see, it puts a lot of premium on gasoline, and because workers have to drive to work or commute on buses or subways that use fuel. Most retirees and people with disabilities are not spending a lot of their income on transportation. They are spending their income on healthcare costs and prescription drugs. If you're 30 years old, you're probably not on any prescriptions. Most people that age are not. So they're not spending their money on prescription drugs, and yet that is the index. It's looking at their expenses, not on the retired population. We have had a period where gas prices have been dropping, and so that's caused that CPIW, that measure, to be not going up very much or not going up at all.
So, Nancy, we've got about 30 seconds here, and then I'm hoping you'll stay with us after the break
Sure.
because everyone wants to talk about this right now. So the takeaway here is that Social Security, we earn our benefit, which includes keeping pace with inflation. And right now, the COLA is not actually doing that for millions of Americans.
Exactly right.
So you're listening to the Thom Hartmann program, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann program. I'm Alex Lawson, sitting in for Thom, and still on the line with us is Nancy Altman, the founding co-director of Social Security Works, who literally wrote the book on Social Security. Nancy, thanks for sticking with us.
Thank you again for having me.
So, Nancy, I want to actually take a caller. When we talk about Social Security, you and I know that outside of New York, D.C., there is basically unanimous agreement on what to do about Social Security, and it is absolutely not one penny of benefit cuts, and we need to expand this program. So whenever we talk about it, when I am here talking about it, we get a lot of calls, and I want to just talk about, I want to take one caller now to just talk about Social Security and the COLA. David in California. David, you're on the line.
Yeah, Alex, thank you for taking my call, first of all. I appreciate that. And I was listening to what Nancy was talking about with COLA and you. I have a couple of questions because you said you brought up if I had questions or things that were maybe going to be brought up during the debate. So first of all, I served my country. I was injured in the line of duty overseas. I came back 100% permanently and totally disabled by the VA. I don't work. I have two young boys under the age of 13. I receive, like I said, 100% disability from the VA. I have not received, so I understand COLA. I used to get $50 raises, say 15 years ago, but I have not received a raise in about 15 years. And I'm curious to know if Social Security, I get paid by the Department of Treasury. Do you know why it is that veterans aren't receiving their COLA, raises per year? If that, I don't know if that ties ties in a little bit with what you guys are talking about. Also, I can't collect Social Security because I was injured. I'm 47. I was injured at 19. I got out of the service at 22. I was 100% disabled. I can't receive Social Security benefits because I don't have enough units. Every year, Social Security sends me a letter saying, what I would get, but I don't have enough units or credits, work credits, I guess, to even get Social Security at this point in time. So I'm curious if you know anything about the veterans side of things, that aspect, if you can answer that. And
David, thanks so much for the call, and thank you for your service. And I'm not actually an expert on the Veterans Administration or their disability program, but it is still calculated with the same CPIW. So I'm not exactly sure in your particular case what's going on. I don't know, Nancy, if you have any insight into that as well.
I think I do. And first of all, let me add with Alex, thank you for your service. And you represent really millions of veterans who receive, and in your case, you're not receiving Social Security, but often you've got veterans who are receiving veterans benefits and Social Security. And when the cost of living adjustment is not adequate, you get doubly hit because you've got two sources of income that are eroding. It's really a shame that because it sounds like you're just on the edge of having to. You are correct. To receive Social Security, you have to achieve insured status, and it sounds like you just missed having enough quarters of coverage or credits, which is really unfortunate. It's good that you have the veterans benefits, but we need to make the cost of living adjustment much more accurate so that you get so that your benefits don't erode.
So Nancy, let me just it is millions of people getting benefits, and it is so we want to actually talk a little bit like zoomed out on this, because I think David's call is really important for this issue so people can understand how profound the cost of living adjustment is. You noted it that in David's particular case, he didn't qualify. He just missed qualifying for Social Security disability. But a lot of people who are in a similar situation, so a veteran returning who is disabled, is actually going to be receiving Social Security disability as well as Veterans Administration disability. And both of those are going to have yearly cost of living adjustments. And so if the COLA is not keeping pace with inflation, then both of those programs, the purchasing power is going to erode and go down. So there's kind of 2 points there. One is that Social Security is a massive insurance program, right? A lot of people think of it only as retirement, but in fact, millions of working Americans have about $1.2 million in disability and life insurance as well.
And, and there is a solution. I'm thinking about there are a number of solutions, but Senator Elizabeth Warren and Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth have introduced bills in Congress along with many of their Democratic colleagues as co-sponsors, the Save Benefits Act. And what that stands for, Seniors and Veterans Emergency Benefits Act, because it is seniors who are affected, people with disabilities who are affected, veterans who are affected, as well as others who have, at least they have some cost of living adjustment, but one that is inaccurate, too low. It's too stingy. It doesn't fully measure their cost of living. So what the members have said is, let's have as we're fixing that, let's have a one-time emergency payment for everyone. And it would be good to try to get Congress now, with this momentum of such a small cost of living adjustment to get Congress to take a vote on that bill.
The Save Benefits Act, with Tammy Duckworth in the House and Elizabeth Warren in the Senate, this should be a bipartisan bill, and especially now with a 0.3% COLA. So you have millions of seniors, people on fixed incomes, veterans who are seeing their purchasing power erode. The Save Benefits Act would provide a one-time payment, 3.9%. And the reason that they use that number is because that's the average CEO pay increase, right? Did you have that right?
The top 500 CEOs in the country, they got a 3.9% increase. So the concept is, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for our seniors and people and veterans and people with disabilities.
And now this one-time payment is also paid for, right? This is a stopgap, one time, to make up for the fact that there's no COLA last year, low COLA next year, and it's paid for by closing a loophole again on CEOs and the richest Americans. I can't remember exactly which one it is.
It's a performance pay, and it's interesting because the loophole that's getting changed, that they propose to close, is something that has bipartisan support. That's how bad the loophole is. It was actually
brought up by Republicans, right, first in I think, the House.
That's right. It was not intended. It's only for the very highest paid. It's giving people so-called performance pay when they're driving their companies into the ground. But the revenue from it is dedicated to Social Security. So actually, in the long run, Social Security is put on stronger financial footing. So it's a one-time emergency payment to seniors, veterans, and others who currently get these benefits indexed by the CPIW. It's paid for by closing an egregious loophole that everybody thinks should be closed, and the money helps ensure that Social Security's benefits can be paid for the foreseeable future. So it's a winning issue. It should be something that has bipartisan support, but at this point it doesn't. It's a Democratic bill.
So right now I want to do my favorite thing, because anybody who's mad about the 0.3% COLA, anybody who's outraged by that, this is what you should do. You call 202-225-3121, and you ask to talk to your elected representative. And remember, they work for you. And especially right now is when you want to call their offices. They're going to be probably in their home district, but you want to register that every single member of Congress should be on the Save Benefits Act. This is a bipartisan idea. It's a one-time payment that's paid for, and it is paid for by closing a loophole that the Republicans have identified. This is exactly what should happen right now. It should pass in the lame duck, and people should be getting a check immediately as a stopgap. But longer term, Nancy, what we need to do is actually expand benefits, right? So the low COLA is part of it, and we need to actually use a more accurate indicator. But we also just need the only problem with Social Security is that for millions of Americans, benefits are too low. And I know, and you know, and so does Thom's listeners, that is the case. That's the reality, and that's what the American people want. And yet tonight, there's going to be the final debate in the presidential election. And while that is a relief that we don't have to watch Donald Trump, stalk around a stage more than one more time tonight, we do know that Chris Wallace has already indicated that he's going to ask a question about Social Security, but he's going to do it entirely the way the greedy liars on Wall Street want it. He said debt and entitlement. And that is a clear indication that he's going to ask it in a way that says benefits are too high. The day after the COLA is announced at 0.3%, about $4 per month, you're going to have the moderator at a presidential debate frame this issue as benefits being too high. And, I know that Social Security works, and you have put out a lot of statements and information on this. But why is it? I mean, what can we do about that? And also, why is it that it's the most difficult to wedge out. We've moved the discussion so far on Social Security, but the elite media, the corporate media, are still so bought in to this greedy liar on Wall Street framing of Social Security.
Yes, it's really unfortunate. I mean, the American people are polarized over a number of issues, but not Social Security. The Tea Partiers do not want to see Social Security cut, and indeed would like to see it expanded. And every generation has done its part in improving Social Security and increasing it. It's now our turn. We should be expanding these benefits and putting a cost of living adjustment that accurately reflects the true costs of seniors and people with disabilities and allows people to take some measure of the growth in our standard of living, where it is so that is not expanding Social Security. That part is just making it more accurate. But the benefits are.
But Nancy, I want to ask you. We're gonna go to a break pretty soon, and I want to ask you. This is the question. Can we afford to expand Social Security?
Absolutely. Social Security is our benefits are extremely low by international standards, and the program is extremely efficiently run. We are the wealthiest nation in the world at the wealthiest moment in our history. It doesn't always feel that way because the wealth has all been redistributed upward. But the American workers are among the most productive in the world. This is part of all of our deferred compensation. It's part of our wages, and they should be increased just the way the minimum wage should be, and in fact, all wages up and down the line should be.
Couldn't agree more. If Social Security has a problem, it has a rich people problem in that they don't pay their fair share into this system. They're only paying up to the wage cap, and above that, they pay nothing into that. We need to modify that. We need to get millionaires and billionaires to pay the same rate as the rest of us. And then we can expand benefits, strengthen the system. Nancy Altman, founding co-director of Social Security Works. You can find her at SSWorks on Twitter or socialsecurityworks.org. Nancy, thanks so much for joining us.
Again, thank you, Alex.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann program, and we will be right back after this.